Okay, now we're going to move on to applying the remainder theorem that I mentioned in that last video. It will be titled, of course, synthetic division. And so then this video will be titled Remainder Theorem. But this is on Student Journal, page 90. This is still page 51 in our math notebook, but it is on Student Journal, page 90. As you look at these problems, students would approach them in a different way than probably what I'm thinking. But as I look at these, I see the quotients with the remainder over here. And then I just have 4 problems that all have a divisor of x minus 4, and all of them have a different remainder. So if you would apply the remainder theorem, you could figure out quickly which answer goes with which problem. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little blank beside each of these. You all know I like to have a place to put these answers. So I'm going to put a little blank so I can put the correct answer here after I find it. Sorry, that's crooked. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to realize that I'm going to use 4 when I substitute. When I evaluate using the remainder theorem, I'm going to use 4 each time, just because my divisor has a minus 4. And what I'm going to do, let me see if I can turn this. I apologize. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute 4 into here. So I'm going to substitute 4 everywhere x is. I'm going to do order of operations, do my exponent first. 16 minus 4 is 12. So I get 4. That means if I were to do long division or synthetic division, that my remainder would be 4. Now, which problem over here has a remainder of 4? And that would be letter A. So I can put A here. You're welcome to pause this and do the rest of them so you can see if you can get it right. And then you can play and check to see if you're correct, or fast forward, check to see if you're correct. I'm just going to substitute. I'll continue. Do order of operations. 16 minus 4 is 12. 12 plus 8 is 20. Which of these has a remainder of 20? That would be D. Oops. So I'll put D here. Okay. For the next one, I'll substitute 4 in. So again, we're using the remainder theorem. That's exactly how you use the remainder theorem. 16 plus 4 minus 8, which would be 20, minus 8, which is 12. And that's letter B. And then for number 12, I'll substitute 4 in again. And do order of operations. 16 plus 4 plus 8 would be 20 plus 8. Well, of course, I know that I would have known the answer if I'd have thought about it for a minute, but I do like to show my work and prove that C is the correct answer. So that's how you do those first 4 using the remainder theorem. Now, for this next one, it says use synthetic division to evaluate the function for the indicated value of x. To use synthetic division, you use this number you're given. You don't take the opposite. So you're going to put a 2 here. When it says to evaluate the function, that means that my remainder is my answer. I'm evaluating to find the value. So when I do that, my remainder will be my answer. And I'll show you that it actually does work. So negative 3, 3, 2, 1, none. So they're all there. Negative 3, 4, negative 17, and negative 6. Because in the past, I've told you if you see evaluate, that means to substitute. Well, here they say evaluate using synthetic division, so that means you need to use synthetic division. Bring down the first one, multiply, you get negative 6. Add, you get negative 2. Multiply, negative 4. Add, you get negative 21. Multiply, you get negative 42. Add, you get negative 48. So the value of number 13 is negative 48. Now I want to show you if I substituted 2 in, it's using the remainder theorem. If I substitute 2 in, I am going to get that same answer of negative 48. But you want to make sure to follow the instructions and use the method that they've told you to use. Okay, order of operations says to do the exponents first. We'll go ahead and multiply. Let me see. I think I can squeeze this up here. Number 14, I can put more over on the side. So I'm going to have negative 16 plus 16 minus 34 minus 6. Oh, I don't think I'm going to get the same answer. 2 cubed is 8. Oh, this is negative 3. Whoops. There we go. Negative 3. And that's negative 24. Sorry about that. Negative 24 plus 16 minus 34 minus 6. Negative 24 plus 16 is negative 8. Negative 8 minus 34 minus 6, that is negative 42 minus 6, and I get negative 48. So yes, the remainder is the value that they're asking you for. So that's what I'm going to do on each of these problems. I'm going to use synthetic division. I apologize for moving that camera. I'm going to use synthetic division to evaluate these, and the remainder is the value that I want. If you want to check your answers, you can. Remember, you're only substituting that number in. Okay, I'm going to use negative 1. I've got to the 4th power. I don't have to the 3rd power, so I'm going to put a 0. I've got to the 2nd power, so I'm going to put a 1. I don't have to the 1st power, so I'm going to put a 0. And then 4. So I did that to include everything. And now I'm going to use synthetic division to simplify. Draw a line. And a line. Bring down the first one. Multiply. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Add. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Add. Negative 1 times 0 is 0. Add. Negative 1 times 0 is 0. And add. 4 plus 0 is 4. So the value for this is 4. Let's plug this in really quick and see. So the opposite of negative 1 to the 4th power, negative 1 to the 4th power would be 1. That'd be negative 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. Plus 4. So 4 is the correct answer. Okay, let's do the next one. Are they all there? 3, 2, 1, none. Yes, so we're going to use negative 5. 1, negative 10, 31, negative 30. Bring this down. Multiply. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Add, you get negative 15. Multiply, you get positive 75. Add, you get 106. Multiply, you get negative 531. And add, you get negative 561. So that would be the value. It would be difficult for me to check that one quickly, so we'll just say that's the answer. Please let me know if you find it to be incorrect. I'm going to use 3. And I do notice right away I'm missing an x squared, so I'm going to put a 1, then a 0, then an 8, and a 27. I'm going to bring down the first one. I'm going to multiply and add. Remember, I'm multiplying. And multiply and add. And multiply and add. So 78 is the value of that function when x is 3. Okay, now let's see what number 17 is saying. It says, what is the value of k so that it has a remainder of 0? So, since we're doing synthetic division, we are going to set this up with synthetic division. We're going to use 4, -1, 4, 3, there's a missing cube, so I'm going to put a 0, 5, I don't know what k is, that's what I'm trying to find, and -8. Then it says it needs to have a remainder of 0, so I want this to be 0. So let's just work until we get to the end and see what kind of equation we'll have to solve. Bring the first one down. 4 times -1 is -4. Add 0 plus -4 is -4. Multiply 4 times -4 is -16. Add, you get -11. Multiply, you get -44. When you add, you get k minus 44. When you multiply, I'm going to leave it as a distributive property problem. You're going to do 4 times k minus 44. Then I'm going to add those two together, and it has to equal 0. -8 plus 4 times k minus 44 has to equal 0. Distribute. 4 times 4 is 16, 176. Okay, I'm going to turn my paper sideways. I'm going to combine these two and get 8 and 17, is that -25? 4k, oh no, that's not -17, it's -176. Okay, hold on. 4k, it's going to be a negative. -8 and -176 is -184. So -184 equals 0. I'm going to add 184 to both sides. 4k is going to equal 184. Divide by 4. K is going to equal 16, 24, 46. So for that not to have a remainder, k would have to equal 46. That's it for the remainder theorem. Hope that that helped and that you're learning